Welcome back, everyone. So, I was asked, and here I am to report on the suggestions that you have all given me on what video you'd like to see next. So, today we're taking a look at Jodi Arias. What is day to day life like for Jodi Arias? And along with that, a lot of people requested, what do they feed inmates at the prison where Jodi Arias is currently housed? So let's jump into it, and thank you for joining me today. Okay, first off, we have to address the monster in the room. What level of security is Jodi Arias at now? We know that the first 2 years of her incarceration for Jodi Arias, she spent in a maximum security prison at the Arizona State Prison for Women. She was a maximum security inmate. Now, she is a mid-level security level inmate at Perryville State Prison for Women, and she has a little bit more of freedom to do things throughout her day. She is in what is called a closed custody unit, a CCU. There are multiple different security levels at Perryville, and please forgive me while I read these off. There is medical CU, closed unit. There is mid C unit. There is a phase 2 security unit. There is a phase 3 security unit. There is a closed CU. There is a CTU. There is a phase 3 CTU. All of these are at Perryville. Yes, it can be mind-numbing trying to keep them all separate, but she is in a closed custody unit, so a CCU. She has some restrictions, but it gives her more freedom within her actual housing unit. Pod is what they refer to it as, a pod. There's 2 floors. There's a lower floor and an upper floor. And these pods are mixed of every one of these, except for the medical CU, is in there right now. Because of COVID restrictions right now, they are restricting how much people are moving within the actual prison. Because what they don't want is people, an outbreak to happen in the East Wing getting to the West Wing. And yes, there are 4 East units and there are 4 West units. Security in the layout of each and every pod is different. So please save yourself the time and don't bother typing in the comment section after this video your wife, your sister, your niece, or whoever, when they spent time at Perryville, their closed custody unit was different from this. I don't need to hear it, because there are, again, 4 East units and 4 West units at Perryville. And each and every pod, 3 is not the same as 4, and 2 is not the same as as the others. They're all different, every one of them. And right now with COVID, everything has been thrown up in the air, and it's all been jingled together to make the best situation for everybody. Because yes, there have been outbreaks at Perryville, where she is currently housed at, and if you've ever watched anything on TV about prison, when a cold, a flu, a virus like this breaks out in the penitentiary, it spreads like wildfire and rapidly. And it doesn't just get the inmates, it gets the staff, it gets everybody. So they had to restrict, how many visitations people get, how they move amongst the prison, who gets to work, who doesn't get to work, what occupation classes they're offering. And yes, they're even restricting those, how many people get to attend and be in attendance, and leave to go to NA and AA meetings and religious services. Religious services, instead of someone from the outside of the prison coming in to host religious services, they're having inmates run their own religious services right now with the instructions from the outside by closed circuit TV. That they're doing the best they can with the situation at hand. We're out here in the real world trying to deal with COVID, and inside they're trying to deal with it with inside of an actual box. So keep that in mind. What is Jodi Arias' day like, and when does it start? Every morning at 4:30 a.m. over the loudspeaker in her housing unit, a loud screeching alarm goes off to alert every one of the women in her housing unit time to wake up. From 4:30 to 5, when the electronic doors unlock, and they are electronic, they don't necessarily have to put a key in to let the inmate out. They're electronic. They unlock and then they lock, electronically, but they can manually put a key in and lock it if they need to. But at between 4 and 5 a.m., they can clean up, get dressed, brush their hair, do whatever they need to do, or just stand there looking like you just woke up with bed hair or whatever, until 5. At 5 a.m., the doors unlock. They then must step out of their cell if they have a cellmate. Cellmate stands on one side of the doorway, they stand on the other side of the doorway. No two over here, no two over here, one and one on each side of the doorway. The guards then go through the bottom unit and the top unit at the same time. 2 guards work this side to the end, and 2 guards from the bottom work this side to the end. And what they are doing is they're going cell to cell to make sure the following. 1, every inmate has made their bed. You have to make your bed. Otherwise, you go back in and they close the door and they lock it. And then they do their check of everybody and head count, and then they come back to see if you've got it through your little head that you're supposed to make your bed. Number 2, that the cell is in a tidy and neat manner. If it's not, you and your cellmate mate going back in and they lock the door until you do it, and again until they've checked everybody. They then come by and they do a cell head count. Okay, there are 2 people supposed to be in this cell. 2 people are here. 1, 2. Check the ID. And they have like these plastic bracelets that they wear that have their ID number on. They scan it. Beep, beep. Boom. You can go to the day use area. And once they've counted them all and everybody's been accounted for and everybody's cell's done, that usually takes about 20 minutes. So now it's about 5:20, 5:25. 5:30 a.m. The meals come to them. They do have a mess hall there, and they do have an indoor gymnasium, but because, again, of COVID restrictions, the meals come to them at 5:30 a.m. Eat breakfast, great. You can then sit your happy little butt down in the day use area or go take a shower, do whatever you need to do, get cleaned up, get ready, or go back in your cell, lay down in your bunk. You can't go to sleep, but you can lay down in your cell, read, watch TV if you have a TV in your cell. If they have to buy them themselves from commissary, and they're not cheap. But they can, they have radios and stuff that they can buy off of the commissary as well. But that's at 5:30 breakfast. They can go and they go get cleaned up, and then at 6:40 a.m. they do a head count, unless you are going to work. If you're going to work, you have already left the cell. Yes, you have left the cell already by 6:40. You've left at 6:15, and they counted your head and they counted your butt as you left to go to work. They say, okay, we have these people who are going to work because they are, we need them to actually do their jobs right now in the penitentiary. They count them and they check them off, so they already counted all of them. If they needed medication, they got their medication before they left to work. If not, at 6:40, they do head count, and then everybody gets their medications then, who need them. All right? If they have a medical appointment, a dental appointment, or a vision appointment, those are the people who will then come up towards the front of the day use area to be counted, to be checked off, to make sure that they have an appointment to go see, them. Normally, they would also be lining up later on for visitations, or if they have, with family members, or if they were meeting with their legal representation. But because of COVID, Everything's been thrown up in the air, and it's all mixed all together right now on, when visitation is going to be, and if they're on allow visitation, and if everything else. Otherwise, if it needs to be a legal meeting between you and your attorney, your legal representation, they have a system that they've set up for closed circuit TV. Basically, you have a phone, they have a phone, they're in another room, you're in another room, and you can see each other on a monitor and talk that way privately. It's not recorded, it can't be recorded because of the constitutional rights. They can't violate them. So those inmates who are at work, and yes, Jodi Arias is one of those inmates who leaves at 6:15. She leaves and she is at work from 6:15 until 12:30. Yes, just a little over 6 hours each day right now. She doesn't get to work a full day, again, because of COVID. What does Jodi Arias do? It must be exciting, right? I bet you she's got to be a therapist of some kind or something. No. Jodi Arias is a janitor. She works in the garment shop as a janitor, sweeping floors, mopping floors, cleaning up after other inmates. In the garment shop, they have a garment shop there on the facilities, and they make prison uniforms for other women and for men, and they come in different sizes depending on what penitentiary needs. They're jumpsuits or shirts or pants and shirts or underwear. They do make boxers for men and for women for the different penitentiaries, and Jodi works there as a janitor, and she gets paid, yes, again, 23 cents an hour. She's making the big money, but 23 cents an hour. So she's there and then at 12:30 they send them all back. They line up, they count them again, they bring them back to their cell, and they're in their cell. Not their cell, but their housing unit, their pod. At 12:30, and then a little bit later after that, approximately about 15 minutes after all the inmates have come back, maybe they went to a class, where they were going to be separated because of COVID, on one side of plexiglass versus the person who's actually teaching the class. There are occupational classes, there are anger management, there are dispute resolution classes, there are all kinds of classes that are being taught. No college courses at all, no college credits for anything, and a lot of these are required by the actual court system themselves, or they do it to make themselves look better for the parole board. And that's more the game that gets played. Let's not lie to each other. Most of them could give a crap about, being a better parent or being a better citizen after they get released. They're just doing it so it looks good on paper for the parole board. Hey, look, I did all these classes while I was here. Yay! But then it's lunchtime. And it's also medication time right after lunch or before lunch, depending upon the type of medication you need, if you need to take it with food or not. But at the same time, the nurse comes in with the food. Trustees who work in the kitchen bring the actual meals. Everybody gets one tray. If you don't eat it, you don't get in line. If you don't want to eat it, keep your happy butt there and eat your commissary. But don't come up and get a tray and then go over and try to trade it with somebody else. They don't like that. If you're going to get a tray, you eat the tray. If you don't eat the tray, then you throw it and dump it in the trash. That's it. You don't go giving it away to somebody else. You're like, hey man, please don't, beat me up in the shower later. Here's a free tray. No, they don't like it at all. But I'm sure it happens. And Jodi has probably had to do that a couple of dozen times, at least a week, because she's just a frail little thing who wants everybody to please have pity on her soul. But, anyways, so let's just say that now Jodi Arias has eaten her lunch, and after she has eaten lunch, she then has an hour and 15 minutes of free time before the next head count. Now, throughout the day, even though I didn't mention head count, they are doing head counts anyways. They're always, watching where everybody is in the prison. If you go take a shit, Sorry for my language. If you take a shit, they have people watching that pod. They're watching where everybody is. They see someone going to the shower, they better be going to take a shower. All right. If they're going to go have a shit, they better be going to go have a shit. Everything is being watched. Not only by people with, actual physical eyes, but there are cameras watching everything. No, they're not watching them actually physically take a shit. That'd be an invasion of privacy. And no, they're not watching them take a shower. That'd be an invasion of privacy. But they are watching the outside area of that. They can't go in there unless they're actually doing that. There's no toilets in the common use area. You have to go back to their pod to actually use their actual cell. I mean, go to their cell to actually use the bathroom. All right, so dinner is not served until 5 p.m. At 5 p.m., dinner time comes and they have dinner. Again, if somebody needs medication, the nurse comes with them. And at the same time, if you're not feeling well, they'll check your temperature. And if you're, they think you might have COVID, they might move you to, another area full of other inmates who they all think have COVID or they know have COVID. And you can go there and be in misery with them in another housing unit. But you leave all your stuff behind. So, most inmates, if they think that they have COVID, they don't want to really move. They want to stay right where they are and they want to die to protect their stuff. Yeah, because you never know when someone's going to steal your bag of Doritos and your top ramen. It happens. Theft is one of the largest things inside of a penitentiary. People are stealing stuff for each other all the time. And people are also giving away their stuff to other inmates because they're being extorted, all the time. As you probably have heard from the Christopher Watts, video, that he got in trouble for another inmate having his stuff in his cell. It was either stolen from him or the other inmate was extorting him for, hey, look, I'll protect you. I won't let you get beat up if you just give me your shit. But sorry, but that's the way it happens, and that's the language they use. All right, so they had dinner. Now, for the next between 5:30 and 7, it all depends upon the actual individual themselves. Each individual, maybe they're in an AA class, maybe they're in NA, maybe they're and going to religious services or whatever. Maybe they're in a peer group. These are all, a lot of things are being done by peers only right now because of COVID, they're not letting people in to actually run these classes. They're doing them by CCTV, and they're trying to keep a restriction on it. Now, you may have seen some of the stories online and in the news about the Perryville state prison there for women and the ongoing litigation when it comes to food services with the company that they have signed a contract through with. It's for $40 million and it goes through 2023. About the inmates, seeing boxes of food being brought into the penitentiary that are labeled not fit, suitable for human consumption, and that's mainly chicken and other chicken parts and other items like that. You may have seen that. You may have also seen stories on the news about green meat and other things that are being served to inmates. And I don't know if they're true or not, but let's go ahead and jump into what they feed them on a weekly basis there at the prison at Perryville. All right. Breakfast. These are typical breakfast items. They don't have a set schedule of when you get these items and when you don't get these items. And they're intermixed, amongst the trays that they may get. Oatmeal, muffins, fruit, cold cereal, bananas, oranges, apples, and fresh other seasonal fruit, scrambled eggs, potato mixed with mystery meat. I'll get to how I know that it's called mystery meat in a minute. Veggies, sausage patties. That's typical breakfast items. But it's also been reported that sometimes at breakfast, they've gotten cold spaghetti for breakfast on their trays. Lunch, it depends on if you're in a restriction, if you are in the hole because you're a bad girl, or whatever the reason is. If you might get a cold lunch, and a cold lunch consists of either a bologna or ham sandwich and a drink, and maybe if you're lucky a fruit cocktail cup. That's it. Otherwise, it's a fruit bar. Hot lunches, they are never consistently served in any manner. But, for what comes week to week, it's usually leftovers that are left over from a dinner service. It could have been the last night or 2 nights before. Or maybe it was served on the west side and you're on the east side. And the meals can, vary between each, side of the prison. But some of the things that they serve them for lunch are hot dogs, mac and cheese, chicken nuggets, fish patties, burgers, and tater tots and french fries, stuff like that. And there's also bologna and cold sandwiches that are served on the trays as well. But again, lunch is never the same. Dinner, there are 7. 5, 6, 7. There are 7 individual dinners that they serve, and they can, according to a lot of inmates who serve time there, they've gone 2-3 days at a time where they've gotten the same meal, bang, 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 each and every time for dinner. I don't have a rhyme or reason for it. Maybe the prison just wants to punish them because they're in prison. But there are 7 unique dinners that they serve. Dinner option number 1 is spaghetti, sliced bread, fruit, and a mixed vegetable. Number 2 is called the meatloaf. The meatloaf or mystery meat, neutral loaf, whatever the heck you want to call it. Nobody really serves a neutral loaf out on the West Coast or in Arizona, but there's a meatloaf option, and it's what it's called, the meatloaf. The meatloaf, veggie, fruit, and bread. Number 3 is a fish patty burger. It's a fish patty in a bun. Cobbler vegetable medley. Number 4 is burger, tots, cold salad, and bread. When it comes to a burger, there's no lettuce and tomato and pickle and onions on this sucker. It is just a bun and a patty. They get 1 packet of mayo, 1 packet of ketchup, 1 packet of mustard, no mayonnaise, no relish, nothing. No salt, pepper, nothing at all. That's what you get. You want anything more on that, you better invent it out of thin air, or have it, find it on commissary or whatever. But next option, number 5, is the mac and cheese and hot dog and sliced bread. They get 2 hot dogs and mac and cheese, and they get sliced bread. They get 2 slices of bread. No condiments with that at all. If they're lucky, they might toss them 1 packet of ketchup if they're lucky. But most people said they never got condiments with the hot dog meal, so they eat it the way it is. Next one is called stroganoff, and that comes with a corn and carrot mix and a cornbread. Now, the stroganoff, they said it's easier to drink it than it is to try to eat it because it's so watered down. Number 7 is the chicken nugget fried medley. They say it's chicken nuggets, but they all guess that it's probably not really chicken. If it is, nobody wants to know what part of the chicken it came from. Fries, and then a fruit blend that they get. Those are the 7 unique different dinners that they serve, and they're intermixed, and they can be served for lunch. If there's leftovers, it goes out on the lunch trays. And that's how they keep the cost down. They don't throw things away. If it's still somewhat edible, I guess, it goes out the next day. And if it doesn't get eaten then it goes out the next day. And apparently, like they said, some ladies report that meals have been served back to back to back, like 3 days in a row. And then they finally got something different once it was all gone. All right. That is the day-to-day life and what Jodi Arias is eating. Did I happen to mention that Jodi Arias has people putting money on her commissary account so she can buy all sorts of things? Yes. On top of the 23 cents an hour she's making because she's living the high life, there are people who are putting money on Jodi Arias' prison inmate account. Now, how do I know all this? I verified this with two ladies who were, one was in Jodi Arias' actual pod, and the other lady served time at the same time, and both of them were just released at the end of 2020. The lady, who I will not give her first name, who served time in Jodi Arias' pod, her last name is Valerie. The other lady's last name is Johnson, who served time in the pod next door, but they both served time there at Perryville at the same time. This is as much as I could confirm, besides the actual reports that are online, along with the public information about the ongoing litigation over the quality of food and the lack of food that they're being served. Inmates usually are not happy with the food that they're being served. If the stories about food being served to them that they are stamped not suitable for human consumption are true, I don't know if they are, but if they are true, that's probably pretty despicable. But we have to understand, 70% of all inmates who get sentenced to prison terms get out. Just like these two ladies who I went through and contacted, to verify this video, information for this video, they got out. They're out right now. One's living in a halfway house, and the other one is living at home with their parents. But they are out. And one did 5.5 years, and the other one did just shy of 9 years. So these are not like, your first-time offenders. But at least they were willing to talk, to me, and tell me a little bit about Perryville. They didn't want to get into the food issue because they don't want to be called in as a witness to it, and they don't want to have to deal with it. And neither one of them have any plans or intentions of ever going back. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's what Jodi Arias' life is like underneath COVID restrictions at Perryville, state prison for women. I hope you enjoyed this. Give this a thumbs up if you do. I would appreciate it. It took me almost 2.5 months to research this, to come up with all the information on this for you. I hope you really, truly appreciate it. I would appreciate it. Again, give it a thumbs up. Oh, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you'd give this a thumbs up. And let YouTube and the algorithm know that you enjoyed this content. If you have only watched one video and this is it, well, thank you for stopping by. But I have a whole channel of over 500 videos for on YouTube right now. Why don't you go check one out? Links are down below. There's a next suggested video there. You can subscribe too. I wouldn't mind if you would do that.